Greetings. My name is Dr. Thomas Duvall. Mr. Jim Barfield and I are co-chairs of the History Group for the Macon Bicentennial Celebration Committee. I want to take this opportunity to thank Mayor Lester Miller for putting together this county-wide Macon Bicentennial celebration. The mission of the Bicentennial Committee is to strengthen civic pride by educating the community about our history, celebrating our accomplishments, acknowledging our past, and promoting a harmonious future. I want to thank Dr. Joshua Murphy, the administrator, for the daily operations of the Macon Bicentennial celebration. I also want to thank Wesleyan's president, Megan Blight, for having us present here at Wesleyan. I must also especially thank the Dean for Equity and Inclusion, Ms. Tanya Parker, for scheduling this presentation and all 12 history presentations here at the Taylor Hall Amphitheater. This 12-theme visual history series could never have occurred without the generous support of the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation. I want to especially thank my two colleagues and personal friends who have worked so steadfastly behind the scene for helping develop narratives, coordinating, and scheduling panelists. They are Mr. Don Druitt and Mr. Newton Collier. Don Druitt conceived the 12-theme concept and used his artistic stage management and PowerPoint skills to produce the visual history theme series. Newton Collier used his musician timing skills to coordinate the voice and visual studio synchronization. I must recognize all the volunteer panelists who unselfishly donated their time and energy to research and practice delivering their themes. And finally, none of this work could come to fruition without the creative filming and editing skills of Mr. Marquez Cornelius at the Mercer WMUB TV studio. I sincerely believe that through this community effort, we have fulfilled our ancestral obligation to archive and pass on our awesome, factual Macon-Bibb County history to future generations. Thank you all for being here to celebrate our bicentennial, Macon, the heart of Georgia.
Hello everyone, my name is Craig Ross and I'm the moderator for this Macon-Bibb County Bicentennial Lecture called History of Macon-Bibb Transportation. I have with me our 5 panelists who will share with you their research on today's topic, and they are, in order of appearance, Brenda Banks, Jeannie Wells, James Taylor, Jamie Gaudet, and Debbie Vetter. Now that you've met our panel, let's get started with their presentation.
My name is Brenda Banks. For thousands of years, American Indians inhabited Georgia, including Paleo, Archaic, Woodland, and Mississippian. It's believed the Mississippians arrived at the Ocmulgee River Basin between AD 800 to 1000 and lasted until around 1600. Their settlements contained thousands of families protected by guard towers and moats. On the Macon Plateau and in the nearby Ocmulgee Bottomlands, farmsteads and gardens were constructed around elaborate ceremonial mounds like we see today at Ocmulgee Mounds National Historic Park, on track to become Georgia's first national park. Historians say that the Mississippian period in the southeastern and midwestern United States saw the development of some of North America's most complex societies ever. Mississippians, who mostly were farmers, also hunted and grew their own food using simple tools they devised. Often, they lived close to streams and rivers, like the Ocmulgee, where periodic flooding replenished soil nutrients and helped to keep their gardens watered. The Mississippian culture began to disappear soon after the Europeans discovered America. Europeans first reached the Ocmulgee in 1540, when Spanish explorer Hernando de Soto's expedition came to what archaeologists consider today's floodplain, south of Macon. The early English explorers and traders first saw the early inhabitants while living in the Ocmulgee River Valley. The river was known as the Ocheesehatchee or Ocheesee Creek. The natives were called Ocheesee Creek Indians, later shortened to Creek Indians. However, they called themselves Muskogee. A British trading post was constructed on Ocheesee Creek in 1690 and was instrumental in trading. By 1690, English traders from the Carolinas had established a post known Ocmulgee Town, near present-day Macon. In the Yamasee War of 1715, Carolinian soldiers destroyed Ocmulgee Town and drove out its inhabitants. James Oglethorpe, when founding the colony of Georgia in 1733, proposed colonial expansion as far as the Ocmulgee River, despite the creek's land claims. The Ocmulgee River runs from Macon south to Lumber City before meeting the Oconee to form the Altamaha River. The Ocmulgee and its tributaries cover an estimated 6,180 square miles in parts of 33 Georgia counties. Above Macon, the Ocmulgee crosses into the Fall Line, a 20-mile wide transitional zone that marks the beginning of the coastal plain. Macon was developed at the site of Fort Benjamin Hawkins. Built in 1809 at the fall line of the Ocmulgee River, it protected the community and established a trading post with Native Americans. Between 1870 and 1900, steamboats regularly traveled the Ocmulgee River hauling cotton. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers reported 9 steamboats running regular routes that originated at Hawkinsville, Abbeville, and Lumber City. Also, thousands of raft runners journeyed downriver in 175-foot rafts made of hewn timber from river basin swamps and creeks, which played a key role in Georgia's economy. As cotton production expanded into the lower Ocmulgee, steamboat navigation was the fastest route to coastal markets, but the narrow, winding river was too shallow to navigate in the dry months. By the 1820s, steamboats could only travel partway from the coast, and some goods were transferred to pole boats, pushed the remaining way to Macon by slaves. With the advent of railroads in the late 1830s and early 1840s, the Ocmulgee's importance for shipping cotton declined. By 1848, barely any of Macon's cotton shipments to Savannah came by boat. River transport remained cheaper transportation for the timber industry, and between 1870 and 1900, steamboats again regularly traveled the Ocmulgee with cotton bales, although their major cargo was barrels of rosin and gum spirits. By the 1800s, the Ocmulgee steamboats had morphed from coastal transportation into feeders for rail hubs. After 1895, commercial navigation along the Ocmulgee steadily decreased annually. By 1924, there was no regular traffic, and by 1944, commercial traffic on the Ocmulgee stopped. This is a view of vehicles traveling across the 2nd Street Bridge over the muddy Ocmulgee River. According to Sheridan Construction Company, the 2nd Street Transformation Project is a multi-phase renovation and upgrade of an existing and aged corridor connecting Interstate 75 and Interstate 16 through downtown Macon. Based on the National Complete Streets Coalition, it promotes safe, comfortable, and convenient access to public places, whether walking, driving, bicycling, or taking public transportation. On June 30th, 1994, Tropical Storm Alberto swooped into Georgia, flooding Macon and leaving the city without water or power for weeks. Here, 2 men paddled up Riverside Drive in a small boat, offering transportation and rescue when roadways were flooded and impassable. 2 people died in Bibb County, and damages from Alberto were estimated at more than $750 million. More than a foot of rain fell because the slow-moving storm stalled over Macon. Floodwaters topped the levee, prompting the Macon Water Authority to build a new water treatment plant. Amerson Water Treatment Plant opened in July 2000. Although the deepest point on the river in Macon is reportedly 6.27 feet, drownings and river rescues occur in the muddy Ocmulgee River. Macon-Bibb County Fire Department dive teams search for and retrieve bodies. Predictably, drownings spike in the spring and summer months. When the Ocmulgee is high, the water doesn't appear to move fast on the surface, but it can become dangerous quickly because the current underneath is extremely strong. Dive team members advise people who are pulled under the water to go with the current and try to get to a riverbank. Amerson River Park, also known as ARP, was a recreational game changer for Macon-Bibb County, forged by city and county leaders and a small group of private citizens. The $9 million investment has paid off handsomely for the community. Amerson River Park consists of 180 acres of forest, meadows, and wetlands surrounded by a river oxbow, with a state-of-the-art handicap-usable playground where all children, regardless of physical ability, can play. There's a canoe launch and takeout, miles of trails, and stone pavilions overlooking the river. The site is the former Macon Water Authority treatment plant, which was destroyed in the 1994 flood. The plant was relocated and the land was donated to Macon-Bibb County for a public park named for the Macon Water Authority's longtime chairman, Frank Amerson. Perhaps the most picturesque spot in Amerson River Park is the overlook, which provides a sweeping view of the river. The stone used on the overlook and pavilions was carefully chosen from a quarry in Alabama and artfully crafted. The 2 pavilions, Atlanta Gaslight and Porter, named for community leader and Amerson champion Ben Porter, are available for rentals managed by the Macon-Bibb County Parks and Beautification Department. Several loops and trails are popular with walkers, runners, and bike riders. The Park Loop is 1.25 miles. The Great Loop is 0.6 miles, and the Pond Trail is 1 mile. Water enthusiasts can experience the Ocmulgee River at Amerson River Park in a variety of ways. At the north end of the park, there's a boat launch for canoes and kayaks, or there's a 2-mile tube float from the J. Hall Memorial Canoe Launch to the Bragg Jam Canoe and Tube Takeout. Water enthusiasts can experience the Ocmulgee River at Amerson River Park in a variety of ways. At the north end of the park, there's a boat launch for canoes and kayaks, or there's a 2-mile tube float from the J. Hall Memorial Canoe Launch to the Bragg Jam Canoe and Tube Takeout. Both the Amerson Waterworks Landing and Spring Street Landing, which are 4 miles apart, are popular places to enter the Ocmulgee River in Macon.
Hello, I'm Mark Strozier. Cows, horses, and mules pulled carts that carried lumber and other goods to the local market. Families settled around Fort Benjamin Hawkins, the 1806 outpost on the east bank that served as post office, trading center, and a distribution point for military supplies. The town was incorporated in December 1823. This slide captures Cherry Street in the 1890s, considered a main thoroughfare for commerce. This is a peek at Macon's marketplace where people brought their covered wagons loaded with goods for sale. These photos capture the Macon Police Department in uniform beginning in the early 1900s, where they are pictured with bicycles, and over the decades as they graduated to increasingly more sophisticated motorized vehicles to transport them around the city. Law enforcement vehicles continue to change. Horses were used a couple of times for downtown patrol. Motorcycles were efficient for the traffic unit. Police cars grew sleeker, and in 2013, the Macon Police Department received a Bearcat tactical vehicle through a federal grant, which the elite SWAT team uses in particularly dangerous situations. When the city of Macon and Bibb County consolidated in 2014, the Macon Police Department was absorbed into the new Bibb County Sheriff's Department. Members of the Macon Fire Department, later becoming the Macon-Bibb County Fire Department, posed in front of their Monroe Street Fire Station in 1904, along with their horses and fire carts. As the Macon Fire Department modernized, so did their transportation. The firemen pictured here are gathered around their first automotive fire engine. These women, dressed in their finery, are seated atop their handsomely decorated cart, heading to join a spring festival parade near the corner of First and Mulberry in 1900. Even their majestic horse has been adorned with flowers for the outing. This photo captures Georgia Female College with a streetcar and a horse and carriage riding by. Renamed Wesleyan College, it was chartered in 1836 as the first college in the world offering degrees for women. Wesleyan's original campus was located on College Street, where it resided from the time it opened its doors in 1839 until it moved to its present location on Forsyth Road in 1928. The photo on the left, Mrs. C.C. Harold, known for her achievements in politics and public health, is seen here with her automobile, considered a symbol of her status as a modern woman. The photo on the right, in the early 1920s, a sporty motorized roadster is parked at the Idle Hour Golf Course, which at one time sported a racetrack. Several gentlemen are playing golf in the background. The focal point of this colorized drawing in Macon's busy business district is the Bankers Insurance Building. Cars line both sides of the street with a beautiful small park in the center, lush with greenery and flowers. Today, that building is Macon's new Hotel 45, perfectly situated downtown within walking distance of restaurants, theater, museums, bars, and clubs. In 1918, downtown Macon is brimming with people paying tribute to the Macon soldiers who returned home from World War I during this crowded, patriotic military parade. Seen here, a mix of horse-drawn wagons along with motorized vehicles. This is the hustle and bustle of Cherry Street at the corner of 3rd Street, awash with activity. people milling about, working, shopping, and socializing. A long line of cars approaches the intersection, and it appears there's not a single parking space available. The photo on the left shows Macon's early streetcars were pulled by mules, then by steam locomotives, until the advent of electric power. Macon's growth followed the streetcar lines. The photo on the right, in the 1980s and 1990s, modern streetcars were a popular tourism tool, with Molly, as in Little Richard's Good Golly Miss Molly, and Mitzi seen here in front of the terminal station. A view of Cotton Avenue with the streetcar tracks still intact. A Piggly Wiggly sign is visible on the left side of the street, and New Way Wieners is midway down the street on the right side. Streetcar tracks remain visible. Capricorn Records founder Phil Walden hands singer Otis Redding Jr. the keys to a new convertible at Macon Homes, one of the early signs of success. Tragically, Redding was killed in a plane crash in Wisconsin in 1967 en route to a performance. William Lawrence Stribling Jr., dubbed Young Stribling, was a professional boxer who fought from featherweight to heavyweight classifications from 1921 to 1933 and won 291 bouts. Macon loved the Stribling family and honored the boxer with a parade after every major fight. Adored for his athletic prowess, good looks, and sterling character, Strib received numerous gifts, among them a motorcycle on which a frequent passenger was his mother. Called the best heavyweight fighter for his pounds that ever lived, he died tragically at the age of 28 after a motorcycle accident in Macon en route to a hospital visit to visit his wife and newborn baby. Young Stribling is buried in Riverside Cemetery. The I-16, I-75 interchange improvement project is intended to enhance safety and mobility by widening and reconstructing I-75 from Hardeman Avenue to Pierce Avenue and I-16 from I-75 to Walnut Creek within Macon-Bibb County. This $500 million investment in Middle Georgia roadways and in the state's transportation system also will support Georgia's growing freight and logistics industry. Electric vehicles are the wave of the future, and soon after the debut of Tesla automobiles, multiple charging stations appeared on Tom Hill Senior Boulevard next to Panera Bread. There are at least 9 chargers at this site, conveniently located near I-75 in the middle of this busy shopping area.
My name is James Taylor. This photo of Macon's train shop is dated September 1910. The crew building a steam engine appears poised to add the wheels. They've stopped their work to take this photograph. Notice the workers casually perched on the train high above the ground in the enormous facility. This is Macon's Central of Georgia shop in the 20th century. Macon was prospering and began to serve as a transportation hub for the state of Georgia due to its central location. In 1895, the New York Times labeled Macon the Central City, as it emerged as a hub for transportation and textile factories, and in 1916, the terminal station opened with great fanfare and hope. David Steinberg, in his book Macon Terminal Station, Its Predecessors and Its Railroads, refers to Macon's sprawling repair facility built in 1909. Reportedly, it could repair 25 locomotives simultaneously and had a 22-stall roadhouse. This was the primary repair facility for the Central of Georgia, which included a turnstile for turning the bus around, fueling and inspection stations, and a machine and locomotive shop. This colorized photo of the Southern Railroad shows a train pulling into the station with passengers ready to board for the trip to Atlanta. It was taken after 1894, when the original ETVNG Railroad became Southern Railway. Southern Railway remained in the Okmulgee Street station until the terminal station opened on December 1st, 1916. But even then, Southern Railway trains, with 2 exceptions, couldn't enter the terminal station until January 7, 1917. This photo is dated July 1st, 1972, a sad day for train lore in Macon. Historian and author David Steinberg reports that the last passenger train left the terminal station. Seen here, the Georgia Peach Special excursion train from Atlanta, bringing railroad enthusiasts to tour the grand but now abandoned transportation hub. This dapper group is posing in front of the Central of Georgia's number 1623 at the Roundhouse in Macon. Although the reason and date for the photo are unknown, it's likely that the approximate date is the 1920s. The Central of Georgia Shops was the region's biggest employer for many years. Engine number 1623 was a 462 built by Baldwin Locomotive Works in 1906 and renumbered number 423 in 1925. These are workers from the Macon Railway and Light Company who gathered for this 1900 portrait. After the Civil War, the city of Macon began to acquire modern conveniences like a water system, telephones, and streetcars. MD&S, Macon, Dublin, and Savannah Railroad, was chartered in 1895. It never reached the coast and only lasted as an independent railroad until 1907, when it was purchased by Seaboard Airline to prevent its rival and previous owner, Atlantic Coast Line, from developing competing service into Savannah. In 1990, it was sold to Seaboard System, then to CSX, and finally was sold to Rail Link, operating as the Georgia Central Railway. In 2004, Railway was acquired by Genesee and Wyoming, which continues to operate the line. This photograph of train number 93, the Dixie Limited, is being led by Mountain-type locomotive number 490 en route to Atlanta in March 1949, seen here on Macon's Vineville Avenue trestle. The beloved Nancy Hanks, actually the Nancy Hanks 2, was a popular Central of Georgia Railway and later Southern Railway Georgia passenger train running between Atlanta and Savannah. It was named after a racehorse, Nancy Hanks, which was named for Abraham Lincoln's mother. The original Nancy Hanks was a short-lived express pulled by a fast steam locomotive in the early 1890s. Its inaugural service was July 1947, and its last trip was April 1971 as the number 108 southbound and the number 107 northbound. Passengers are milling about outside the terminal station while awaiting the arrival of their train. Today, that area is a line of parking spaces spanning the length of the building. It serves terminal station occupants like the Georgia Department of Driver Services. A train porter assists school children preparing to hop on the train at the terminal station, while the adults behind them patiently wait their turn to board. The Central of Georgia Railway Company was incorporated in October 1895, the result of the company's failure to meet its financial obligations and forcing it into receivership. As a result, several companies merged, including the Macon and Northern Railway. The Central of Georgia had several parent companies and underwent many changes over the decades. Today, the Central of Georgia Railroad Company, along with Southern Railway, is under the control of the Norfolk Southern Corporation. The Central of Georgia number 509, built by Baldwin in 1906, has been on display in Macon Central City Park since 1959. Benny A. Scott, who worked number 509's last run, was a community leader and the railroad's first black fireman. He's honored with a plaque at the site. Brosnan Yard is to the railroad industry what a traffic control tower is to the airline industry. 6 stories high and 2 miles long, Brosnan Yard employs 300 people and 10,000 trains a week pass through the facility. Named in honor of the one-time president of Southern Railways, William Brosnan, the rail classification yard cost $12 million to build and was dedicated in June 1968 at a downtown luncheon in the Dempsey Motor Hotel. Today, Northern Suffolk operates the facility. Despite its massive size and importance, most Maconites have no idea Brosnan Yard exists and have never seen the enormous railroad complex. Working together for a cleaner state, that was the message from state and local officials in 2015 who joined forces to announce an Echo locomotive coming to Middle Georgia. The Georgia Department of Natural Resources, Georgia Department of Transportation, Middle Georgia Clean Air Coalition, and Norfolk Southern Railroad collaborated on this $10 million air quality improvement program. Macon's Brosnan Yard had at least 6 eco locomotives, which means jobs in cleaner air in Middle Georgia and for Robins Air Force Base. Ever mindful of Terminal Station's rich history as a city's transportation hub for rail dating back to 1916, several areas in the building today pay homage to that beginning. A large dual display is featured on the first floor at the foot of the stairs leading to the administrative offices of both the Terminal Station and the Macon-Bibb County Transit Authority Paratransit Office. This photo display is located on the 4th floor across from the elevator in the back of the building.
Hi, I'm Jamie Godet. In 1916, people marveled that a city with a population of 48,000 could have a building as grand as the Terminal Station. Called the crown jewel of downtown Macon, it was a consequential addition to Macon for travel and commerce. The architect, Alfred T. Fellheimer, had an affinity for Roman architecture. Historian and author David Steinberg describes the building as a simple, dignified classic design, clad in Bedford limestone with a red cement tile roof. The exterior was modeled after Union Station in Washington, D.C., while the interior resembled Fellheimer's Utica, New York design. The Terminal Station was built at a cost of $600,000, with the construction of the approaches valued at nearly $2 million. Yesterday and today. In 1916, when the Terminal Station opened, Black citizens were treated differently than white ones. They had a separate entry, waiting room, and eating facilities. The words "colored waiting room" etched into the building are a painful reminder of America's racist past. Periodically, the controversy rears its head, as it did most recently at the July 2020 Macon-Bibb County Transit Authority board meeting, when a retired school superintendent and a former Macon mayor, both Black, lobbied to keep the sign, calling it a teaching tool and an enduring history lesson. While that mayor, Jack Ellis, was in office, he had a plaque affixed to the building under the sign which read, "During the era of segregation, when this terminal station was built in 1916, the Negro people were required, under Jim Crow laws that governed the majority of southern states, to enter through this entryway to the colored waiting room in order to board a train. These laws were enforced until the early 1960s. A December 1949 terminal station timetable, better known as a schedule, shows the route of several railroads: Central of Georgia Railway, Georgia Railroad, Macon, Dublin, and Savannah Railroad, and the Southern Railroad System. David H. Steinberg, in his book Images of Rail, Macon Terminal Station, its predecessors and its railroads, traces the events beginning in 1838 that led to December 1st, 1916, when the city of Macon proudly opened the Macon Terminal Station, which replaced its forerunners, the 1855 Union Depot and the Southern Railway Depot. The cover is a photo of the Nancy Hanks II on July 9th, 1947, just outside the terminal station as it made its debut. In its heyday, the terminal station had 76 trains making regular stops each day. Today, the Beaux Arts style building continues to dazzle. Though the trains are long gone, the grand structure, listed on the National Register of Historic Places, is Macon's most booked wedding venue, with nuptials nearly every Saturday night, year after year. Additionally, the crown jewel of downtown Macon is a popular backdrop for big screen and television movies and programs, and houses 8 separate offices, both government and private businesses. In 2022, the Macon-Bibb County Transit Authority took a leap into the local art scene with its 2 Spirit of Macon murals created by Georgia College and State University professor Abraham Abebe. Spirit of Macon 1 was funded with a Downtown 2.0 Challenge grant and debuted on January 28th. The artist used 33 cans of acrylic paint in 18 colors, along with 7 gallons of primer and 4 gallons of matte varnish to create and preserve the dazzling, beloved mural. The Spirit of Macon 2 mural, also created by Professor Abebe, was unveiled on August 4th, 2022, underwritten by the Linda Harriet Lane Fund and the Macon-Bibb County Transit Authority, and made possible with special permission from Norfolk Southern Railroad to paint the tunnel. The 2 Spirit of Macon murals have transformed the drab, neglected corner of 5th and Poplar Street into a popular spot for photographs and selfies. Now, the unofficial entrance to Macon's industrial area is alive with engaging public art. Besides the benefit to the entire community, MTA riders and bus operators enjoy these imaginative murals 16 hours a day, 6 days a week, because all MTA buses pass through this intersection en route to the transfer station. In 2021, as we emerged from the pandemic, that totaled more than 418,000 people. This extraordinary photograph was taken by photographer Douglas Nernberger, a Macon-based corporate photographer. The 3 murals on the left were spearheaded by the Macon Arts Alliance in 2017 and funded by a Downtown Challenge grant. The 2 Spirit of Macon murals on the right were Macon-Bibb County Transit Authority projects. The singular photo captures all 5 MTA murals, which have transformed the entire MTA transfer station area. Macon-Bibb County Transit Authority's transfer station is the hub for all bus service in Macon. The new transfer station was completed in 2010 as part of the Terminal Station Multimodal Renovation Project. MTA operates 9 bus routes 6 days a week from Monday through Friday, 5:20 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Saturdays from 5:20 a.m. until 7 p.m. In addition to fixed route service, MTA provides paratransit service for those who qualify. MTA also rents space to Greyhound for travel beyond Macon. Macon-Bibb County Transit Authority holds its monthly board meetings in the terminal station. The meetings are open to all citizens who are invited to share ideas, compliments, and concerns with the board by completing a request form in advance. All board meeting minutes are posted on MTA's website, and meeting notices are posted on the website and MTA's Facebook page. The terminal station is home to 8 Macon-Bibb County government offices and private businesses, including Blake & Pendleton, a national company that focuses on energy efficiency. These 2 gentlemen, who attended MTA's press conference to unveil Alfred, MTA's new bus, wrapped with a replica of the terminal station, are seen here proudly pointing to their respective offices in the building. Sadly, the terminal station was shuttered in 1971 and remained unused until 1982, when it was purchased by Georgia Power and served as their offices until the 1990s. It was purchased by the City of Macon in 2002, which funded its restoration. In 2014, Macon City Council voted to give the property to the Macon Transit Authority. These 2 plaques commemorate those turning points for the historic building: the sale to Macon-Bibb County and the extensive renovation, which included a new MTA transfer station, a waiting room, and lobby renovations, plus a new conference room and meeting room. Since the 2010 multimodal renovation project, the terminal station has come alive as an office complex and popular event space. Weekdays, it provides conveniently located downtown offices with ample parking. Evenings and weekends see a flurry of activity, from civic events, fundraisers, and job fairs to parties and weddings. Left to right, you'll see several images. A Greater Macon Chamber of Commerce winner at its annual Toast of Macon event, Bibb Sheriff's Office deputies hosting a recruitment fair, a poster for a crisis line and safe house fashion show, and a fundraising poster for ARC, Macon's Advocacy Resource Center, a local nonprofit supporting people with developmental disabilities. The terminal station is a dramatic backdrop for memorable weddings and receptions. The crown jewel of downtown Macon has become the city's most popular wedding venue, booked nearly every Saturday night in 2022, and is almost completely booked already for Saturday events in 2023. Brides rave about the magic of marrying in the historic building, and they enjoy working with the gracious, accommodating staff. This is one of many possible configurations for a terminal station wedding ceremony and a dinner set up during a wedding reception. Finally, a bride and groom at the conclusion of their grand event. In the past several years, the terminal station has become a popular backdrop for big screen blockbusters and television movies and series, including Colson Whitehead's Pulitzer Prize-winning book, The Underground Railroad, in 2021. More than 8 minutes of the 10-part series was filmed in the terminal station. Also released in 2021, Marvel's superhero film Black Widow, starring Scarlett Johansson, Florence Pugh, William Hurt in his very last performance, and Rachel Weisz. A dramatic scene in which a strike force attempts to capture a fugitive was filmed inside the terminal station and in Cherry Street Plaza, which included snipers on the roof of the Tubman Museum. Significant scenes in The Trip to Bountiful, a 2014 television movie remake of the film classic starring Cicely Tyson, Vanessa Williams, and Blair Underwood, were filmed in the terminal station. Location scouts love the versatility of the terminal station and working with the friendly, knowledgeable staff.
My name is Debbie Vetter. Air service in Macon spans nearly a century and includes at least 16 airlines serving 3 airports. Sunshine Skies traces the evolution of airline service from the 1920s to the present. Florida Airways became the first airline to serve Macon when it added the city as a stop between Jacksonville and Atlanta on September 27, 1926. The first flight was on a new 6-seat Stinson Detroiter christened Miss Macon. This R.E.G. Davies map is from the book Eastern, an Airline and Its Aircraft. Before the airlines, Macon was home to the world's first organized crop dusting company, Huff Dayland Dusters Incorporated, the predecessor of Delta Airlines. Delta maintained a crop dusting division until 1966. This is a postcard of an Eastern Airlines Douglas DC-2 at the newly completed terminal at Macon's Municipal Airport, Herbert Smart Field. At that time, the airport carried mail, passengers, and express, making regular stops. It was on the mainland's Chicago-Miami route. The top photo is a rendering of Herbert Smart Field, which opened in 1937. Built to accommodate Eastern Airlines' expanding service and larger aircraft, which included a concrete apron and the latest weather and radio equipment. The bottom photo of the Middle Georgia Regional Airport was taken in the late 1960s or early 1970s. Air service here dates to World War II. In March 1940, the United States Army began construction on Cochran Army Airfield, which officially opened in October 1940. The base was a joint training facility for the United States Army Air Corps and the British Royal Air Force. In 1946, the airfield was decommissioned by the Army and turned over to the city of Macon. Today, the airport is still owned by Macon-Bibb County government and operated by TBI Airport Management Incorporated. This is a rendering of Low Aviation, a full-service, fixed-base operation serving Macon since 1946. Operating in the Middle Georgia Regional Airport, LOW provides a full slate of services. It refuels transient aircraft and provides a weather and flight planning center, a waiting area for passengers, conference room, courtesy cars for pilots, pilots' lounges and supplies, and free wireless. LOW assists in arranging car rental, hotel accommodations, and catering. Other services include fuel sales for based customers, aircraft rental and sale, and general, corporate, and T-hangar rentals. Personnel are on call for unscheduled after-hour services, and self-service AV gas is available 24 hours a day. Florida Airways merged with Pitcairn Aviation to become Eastern Air Transport. In 1937, Macon opened a new, larger airport to accommodate Eastern's expanding service and larger aircraft. Delta Airlines inaugurated service in Macon on July 1, 1947, a stop along the Atlanta-Savannah route. Air traffic increased steadily in Macon from the 1950s to the 1970s, with Delta eventually overtaking Eastern in market share during the 1960s. Those statistics are seen on the right side of the slide. Eastern and Delta initially used Douglas DC-3 aircraft, both upgraded with Convair 440 aircraft, and during the 1970s, both operated McDonnell Douglas DC-9 jets on flights from Macon to Atlanta. Eastern ended its Macon service in 1979, and Delta transferred its service to Southeast Airlines as the Delta Connection in the mid-1980s. Eastern Express, operated by Metro Airlines on behalf of Eastern Airlines, brought back service in 1986. Both carriers provided service to the Atlanta airport using commuter prop aircraft. Eastern Airlines went out of business in 1991. The Delta Connection, operated by ASA, continued service until 2008, when Georgia Skies began flights to Atlanta under an essential air service contract. Silver Airways took over with flights to Atlanta and Orlando from 2013 to 2014. Macon had no commercial air service for nearly 3 years, until 2017, when Contour began flights to Baltimore using 30 passenger jets. This is an aerial view of the runways at the Middle Georgia Regional Airport, formerly known as Lewis B. Wilson Municipal Airport, named for Macon's mayor from 1948 to 1953, Macon Municipal Airport, and Cochran Field. This is a drawing for the redesign of the Middle Georgia Regional Airport. The small size of the regional airport makes for convenient travel. Ample free parking is another inducement to utilize the airport when traveling to Baltimore, Maryland, and points beyond. The Baltimore International Airport is a 1-hour drive from Washington, D.C. Located in the heart of Middle Georgia, the Middle Georgia Regional Airport is minutes from Interstate 75 and has a long history dating back to World War I. The airport compound houses the terminal, the airport's administrative offices, LOW Aviation, Contour Airlines ticket counter, Dab's Cafe, a TSA checkpoint, Macon Air Traffic Control Tower, aircraft rescue and firefighting services, and ample free parking. In 2020, Contour Airlines and Macon-Bibb County announced flights would begin between the Middle Georgia Regional Airport and Baltimore Washington International Airport, known as BWI. Tickets can be purchased calling Contour's toll-free number 1-888-33-CONTOUR or online at www.contourairlines.com. BWI offers direct rail service into Union Station in Washington, D.C. Contour provides jet service featuring accommodations comparable to first class on other domestic carriers. along with in-flight refreshments and snack services. 12 round-trip flights are offered weekly. The schedule fulfills needs for leisure and business travel, and particularly for Robins Air Force Base. According to the Macon-Bibb County Industrial Authority, Embraer is the third largest aircraft manufacturer in the world. In 2018, Embraer brought more than 100 jobs to Macon, operating in a 155,000 square foot facility at the Middle Georgia Regional Airport. Signing a 3-year lease with a 3-year renewal option, the Brazilian company invested $1.6 million into the facilities and operations. Embraer services half the global E-Jet fleet and 80% of the North American E-Jet fleet, maintaining 2 component shops, 5 hangars, 2 training sites, and 18 aircraft bays in Nashville, Laverne, Texas, and Macon. A Macon Transit Authority bus, circa 1966, in front of the terminal station, a year in which train service continued to wane. The crown jewel of downtown Macon was first rescued by Georgia Power and ultimately by the Macon-Bibb Transit Authority, where it is a thriving business complex during the week and a wedding venue on weekends. Macon-Bibb County Transit Authority is the official transportation provider for Macon-Bibb County, committed to providing safe, high-quality, dependable, and affordable service to the community. MTA has systematically replaced its fleet, 24 new buses since 2017. On the left, a fixed route bus. On the right, a paratransit bus providing personalized door-to-door service. By the end of 2023, MTA will have 14 electric buses, 7 fixed route, and 7 paratransit. In February 2021, MTA joined the Macon Arts Alliance to cut the ribbon on Art Stop, a new bus shelter at the corner of Cherry Street and Martin Luther King Boulevard in downtown Macon. The Macon Arts Alliance funded the innovative, eye-catching shelter through a Downtown Challenge grant. The shelter design was created by sculptor Jim Bodine. Other new shelters have been installed around the city, including the one pictured on the left, located on Forsyth Street at the new Macon-Bibb County Health Department. In June 2021, MTA revealed its newest bus, a new flyer, Excelsior XD35, named Alfred, to honor Alfred T. Fellheimer, the architect who designed Macon's historic terminal station in 1916 and 1914, most famously, New York's Grand Central Terminal. The bus wrap features an expansive image of the terminal station. Alfred marked MTA's 22nd new bus since 2017, as the authority works to replace its aging fleet. Sparky, the bus with the electric plug, and Bolt, the bus with the lightning bolt, were MTA's first 2 electric buses, funded through a 2017 federal grant. MTA was the only transit authority in Georgia to win the grant and only one of 6 authorities in the nation to be awarded the top prize of $1.75 million. MTA used the award to purchase 2 electric buses built by BYD Build Your Dreams. Macon-Bibb County chipped in $1.1 million of SPLOST funds, which is Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax, enabling MTA to purchase a charging station for the 2 buses. But the charging hub was retrofitted to accommodate up to 12 buses. With the recent addition of 2 more electric buses in July 2022, 2 additional charging stations have been installed for a current total of 4. MTA partners with Mercer University to provide 2 continuous routes for students, a Saturday route transporting students to Kroger, and Walmart on Gray Highway for the purchase of supplies and items not found on campus from 12 noon until 5 p.m. A second route operates on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday evenings, transporting students downtown to attend events, festivals, shop, dine, visit clubs, bars, and socialize. Secure in the knowledge they have safe and reliable transportation to and from campus. The downtown route operates from 7 p.m. until 3 a.m. August 4th, 2022 was a glorious day for Macon and MTA when the newest electric bus was revealed. Melody, the Macon Music Masters bus, was presented to the musical artists pictured on the bus, their families, and the community. This secret 17-month project was unveiled with great fanfare during a terminal station press conference with more than 200 people in attendance, followed by a luncheon. The artists were overwhelmed by the honor, and family members, particularly those whose loved ones were deceased, wept and hugged the bus. Melody includes Allman Brothers Band, Phil and Alan Walden, Bragg Jam, Robert Lee Coleman, Hamp Swain, Percy Welch, Alan Evans, Bone and Holmes, Paul Hornsby, Reverend Pearlie Brown, Newt Collier, Joey Stuckey, Cotton Brothers, Bo Ponder, Robert McDuffie, Otis Redding III, REM, Chuck Lavelle, Ronnie Hammond, and Johnny Jenkins. MTA has a slogan, "We're more than a bus ride." MTA partners widely in the community with events like school career days. Seen here, MTA's inventory and maintenance manager and safety and training manager visit John Lewis Elementary School with the public information officer to talk with the children about transit, jobs, and careers in transit, and about the new state-of-the-art buses.